Who's coming?
Who is it, Charlie Appleby?
You know anybody else who flies that kind of plane? Think he's coming down? Sure. He can smell a free meal from 2 miles up. Just watch him. He'll be back. Just give him 3 minutes.
He's got to go over and pay his respects to Indian River first.
Gone?
Yep. Boy, oh boy, he's getting worse. Well, you know his theory. Wake the people up a little.
Man's a lunatic. Not to be locked up. Come to think of it, I might be able to fix that.
I told you to be back in 3 minutes.
He made it in 2, actually. Come on, let's go watch him land.
Right.
What's he doing? Probably trying to scare us. You think he made it? Over the trees, I mean.
We've heard something if he didn't.
Only one way to find out. Let's go take a look.
Yeah.
You go ahead and eat. We'll be right back.
Hey, Charlie.
Hiya, fellas. How's the coffee situation?
Coffee's fine, but how about you?
I'll tell you in a minute, gentlemen.
You mean there really is something wrong? We thought you were just showing off for us.
It wouldn't be the first time. However, in this case, I'm afraid... Yep, just as I thought.
Busted?
That's not the half of it. You gentlemen wouldn't care to buy an aircraft, suppose?
It isn't that bad, is it?
You're familiar with the fate of Richard III, I presume? Lost his kingdom for want of a nail and all that jazz? Well, as far as this old crate is concerned, that's the nail, my boys. And what's more, they don't make them nowadays.
So what are you gonna do?
Am I invited for lunch?
Sure.
Oh, okay, let's go.
Well, I'm not defending Charlie Appleby. I'm just saying you've got to try to understand him.
Charlie's quite an unusual guy. After a flying career that goes back to the First World War, he still thinks it's fun.
That was his idea of fun this morning?
In his own words, very exhilarating.
I see. Well, let me tell you something. I've spent my whole life trying to keep people healthy and safe around here. I even lie awake nights worrying about things. Like that survey party working up around Moose Lake at the moment. It's a bad place to get sick, you know.
Sure, Doctor, we appreciate it.
Now, all of a sudden, I'm supposed to start sympathizing with this lunatic. You wouldn't fly with him. I wouldn't fly with him. Every time he gets off the ground in that thing, he turns into a public menace. And you tell me that all we can do is understand and forget it?
Look, nobody said anything about forgetting it. I told you before, he'll be back this way eventually, and when he does get here, I'll nail him.
A $20 fine for disturbing the peace.
What do you want me to do, take his license away?
Why not?
On what grounds?
Look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a doctor. All I know is the man is sick.
Well, he can still pass all his tests.
Mentally sick.
He can pass that kind of test, too. You'd be surprised, Doc.
The trouble with you two is you carry moderation to extremes.
Wow.
Well, like I always say, the only place for Charlie Appleby nowadays is about 1,000 miles back in the bush.
Probably just where he's headed right about now.
You hope.
Bet you haven't walked this far in 40 years.
Of course not. Don't approve of it.
It's supposed to be good for you.
If the Almighty had intended us to go around on foot, He'd never have let us invent the flying machine.
Hi, Doc. Hi, Doc.
Hi.
Hey, Doc. Everything okay, Doc?
Oh, yes, just fine.
What's your rush? You've got somebody covering, haven't you?
Yes. But we've got an arrangement to make radio contact with that Moose Lake survey party every day around this time. I'd like to be there to do it myself.
RCMP office, can I help you? Yes, Doctor, what is it?
I tell you, I just saw the man walking right smack back into town as if he owned the place. Well, just beyond Jim Fraser's garage a piece. And I want to make it clear, I'm not interested in punishment. What I'm concerned with is prevention, Sergeant.
Look, Doctor, will you let me handle it, please? Thank you, sir.
Hi, Sergeant.
Mike, I'd like to speak to your friend, please.
Who, Charlie?
Right.
Hey, Charlie. Someone wants to talk to you.
Be right with you. Oh, listen, you take this thing on inside, show it to Jim, and I'll join in a minute.
Right.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind, son?
Well, I hate to tell you this, Charlie, but this is not one of your better days.
What makes you think that?
For starters, you almost knocked me out of my chair when you went over this morning. For which you have some kind of explanation, I suppose.
Matter of native exuberance, you might say.
Well, that's not what the medical profession calls it. Local doctor thinks you're out of your head.
Not a flying man, I take it.
Should have had sense enough to stay out of town till the echoes died down. Now it's going to cost you $20, Captain.
For what?
Or what you call native exuberance, what I call disturbing the peace.
Matter of fact, it's worth it, actually.
Yeah, well, next time I'll try to find some way to make it 40.
Well, I'll try to keep that in mind, son. That is, if I ever get back into the flying business.
What do you mean, get back in the business?
Out of it for the moment. Motor trouble.
Huh? Serious?
Darn serious. That's why I have to terminate our conversation at the moment. Be nice talking to you.
Hey, wait a minute.
Yep.
You try leaving town without paying that fine, you know what'll happen.
Sure. Put me in jail, probably.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'll think about it. So, what's the good word, Jim?
Tell you the truth, I never saw one like this before.
Interesting, isn't it?
But what in the world is the thread on that way for? And the gauge is all wrong. You mean this thing actually worked?
Well, kept my aircraft going, flying until a few hours ago. So I suppose you'd have to say it worked. Can you fix it?
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I suppose I am, actually.
I mean, you can't repair an old worn-out gizmo like that. You know that as well as I do.
Sure, sure. Just wanted a confirmation of an expert. May I have it, please? Thank you. Well, at this point, I'd say we're down to two alternatives, right?
Well, don't look at me. I got no ideas.
That's the trouble with the young nowadays. No initiative.
If you're thinking of trying to make one by hand, Charlie, I haven't got the tools for it.
Oh, wouldn't dream of it. Patching things, yes. Manufacturing them, never. Haven't the patience for it.
Well, then what's on your mind?
Well, there's a man in California, and another one in either Brazil or South Africa, as I remember, deals in spare parts for old flying machines. Only difficulty is it takes about 2-3 months and costs a great deal of money, of which I have approximately $53 at the moment.
So what's your other idea?
For you gentlemen to find me a 1930 Model A.
What?
Automobile. Used to be very popular.
What do you want an old Tin Lizzie for?
Gadget like this.
You mean they use the same kind?
No, sir. You take the Model A equivalent and you put it in upside down and backwards. Works like a jar. So, all we got to do is scout round and find one, right?
Are you really serious?
Of course, it's the kind of project depends entirely on the cooperation of the ground troops. Naturally...
You'd want us to organize a search party or something.
Well, let's just say that anything you might do would be much appreciated.
Who by?
You got a point there, son. You sure have got a point.
I could never in my life thought it'd be this easy, that's all.
It's like Charlie always says. Some people are born lucky, and I guess he's one of them.
Oh, hi, George.
Hi, George. Morning, George.
You want us to go?
Oh, that's all right. Stay where you are. What is this, some kind of convention?
No, we're waiting for a signal, that's all.
From Jim Fraser. He said he'd meet us here.
I see. It's about this Model A thing, I suppose.
That's right.
How'd you know about that?
I just talked to Jim.
Did he tell you about his other idea?
If I were you, I'd keep my fingers crossed. Because you won't get a Model A. If anybody wants me, I'm cleaning out the truck.
How'd you make out at the bank? You and your big ideas.
You mean they turned you down?
What's wrong with this thing?
If I knew that, I'd have had her out of here a week ago.
Looks as if it ought to run like a rocket.
So? What did they say at the bank?
Said my present plane has no trade-in or salvage value, which is true.
And?
And that for me to try to swing the purchase of a new one with only $53 in cash was a rather amusing idea, which is also true.
But did you tell them it was a business proposition?
Certainly. Oh, they were quite courteous about it. Matter of age. I'm a bit too antique, and that's that.
So, what we have to do now is work on the Model A angle.
You say that as if all we had to do was to walk across the street.
That's right.
You mean you know where there is one?
Well, I didn't want to mention it as long as there was a chance of getting you out of that miserable old crate into a new plane, naturally.
But my dear boy, the only thing remotely wrong with that miserable old crate, as you call it...
as long as you're stuck with it, I agree with you. You stay here a while and mind the fort. Everybody here?
Yep, we're all here. So, what's the story?
Well, he couldn't raise a dime. So now we'll have to tackle the doctor.
Okay, we're ready. And you sure that old wreck in his shed's a Model A?
I put it there for him 10 years ago. But just remember to be nice to him. Because as far as I know, it's the only one within 500 miles.
How high can we go? About the price, I mean.
Up to $53. If you have to.
Okay, let's hit the road, men.
Right.
Keep your fingers crossed.
You think that'll help?
Not me. George Keeley.
Try it again.
Once more.
Will you stop that?
Sorry, Doctor.
Well, what is it this time? More poison ivy, I suppose?
No, we're okay. Nobody's sick this time.
Well, then.
Well, well, we were talking to Jim Fraser down at the garage, Doctor, and...
And he said you had an old 1930 Model A in your barn?
That's right.
Well, we were kind of wondering if...
If you'd be interested in selling it.
To whom?
to us.
Well, that's ridiculous. It doesn't run anymore, and even if it did, you're all too young to drive, you know.
Well, it isn't for us. It's for a kind of elderly person.
Who is this elderly person?
Name is Charlie Appleby.
I beg your pardon.
He's a kind of an aviator.
Oh, is that so? What does he want my father's Model A for?
He doesn't exactly want all of it. He just wants a little piece of it.
If I showed you the car, could you identify this little piece for me?
Sure, I've got a drawing of it. Look.
I see. Well, I'd better change my clothes, hunt up a few tools, and I'll see you in the barn in 5 minutes.
Right. Told you it'd be this easy, didn't I? Come on.
Any word from the kids yet?
No. No, these things take time.
Sure. What do you think of what I'm doing here?
What are you doing?
Take a look.
It's interesting. Not quite like the diagram, is it?
Put it all together again, which is more than you managed to do.
But what in the world is that thing for?
You don't recognize it?
Well, looks like you polished up that burned-out part from your jalopy.
That's right. You see, this thing kind of reminded me of the engine in the old Lockheed Vega Teddy Maxwell used to own, about 30 years ago. So I thought I just might try something.
I guess you think it'll run now.
Might. Tell you in about an hour, okay?
Yep, it's coming, it's coming. Yep, there we are. That it?
Sure looks like it. Yep, that's it, all right.
Fine. The next question is, what does he want this part for? To repair his airplane?
That's right.
And what if I don't sell it to him?
Well, he just can't fly, that's all. And you see, what makes it so important is that the only other place where you can get a regular replacement part might take a couple of months or more.
I see.
So how much do you want for it?
My boy, I wouldn't take $1 million.
What do you mean?
If anybody wants to get this from me, they'll have to hit me on the head first. I wouldn't give this up for all the money in Canada.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
But why?
Because I believe in preventive medicine. Nobody else can keep this lunatic out of the air. I can.
Well, don't look so mournful. Not the first time somebody wanted to put me out of business.
I'm sure it isn't.
What I want to know is, what are the kids doing?
Sitting in my office feeling disappointed.
Tell them that's silly. Tell them it was a nice try and I'm grateful. Tell them to go home and forget about it. Like to take this for a spin, do you mind? Just to see how she runs?
Look, you fixed it. You drive it.
Thanks, son.
Oh, brother. I wouldn't have believed it. He's worse on the road than he is in the air.
Hey, George.
Yeah?
It's a survey party up at Moose Lake.
Okay, I'll get it. XNY 556, TR43B. Come in, please. Over. Get me Doc Dugan on the phone. Stand by, please. We'll call you right back. Over and out.
Hi, May. George wants Doc Dugan. Pronto.
Dr. Dugan. Hello, George. Now, look, if it's about that crazy bush pilot... Moose Lake. Broken back. Well, now, look, you get right onto them and tell them he's not to be moved. Not 1 inch, and I'll be right with you.
You see that, son?
Yep, you missed him.
Nips around pretty smartly for a guy with his build. Hey, you got some coffee brewing in there?
Help yourself.
So the answer is no. Thanks, Bill. Well, that's that.
What you're telling me is there's no way we can get up there to help this man?
Look, I've tried the hydro company. Their egg beater's out of the district for 3 days. And the only other one around here is laid up for a rotor repair.
What about the seaplane?
Well, aside from the fact that it couldn't get you nearer than within 7 or 8 miles of the place, it's got a busted pontoon.
We've got to do something quickly. That man could die.
I know that.
There's not one single available aircraft.
It's not a question of availability, Doctor. It's a question of being able to land. The only thing I know that might possibly make a landing in that terrain is either a helicopter, which we haven't got, or...
Or what?
Well, there's always Charlie Appleby.
Oh, come on now. This is serious.
So am I serious.
You can't be.
If his plane were working, Charlie's the only man I know who might just possibly make a landing up in that country.
You're out of your mind.
Am I? Have you got the part he needs?
Sure.
Then don't try to tell me he won't do it, because you know darn well, Doctor, that's the way he makes his living.
You're suggesting that I should not only give in to this maniac, but that I'm supposed to fly with him?
Nobody says you're supposed to, Doctor. I just said it was possible.
Yes, well, I don't think it's possible, because I don't think we could make it up there in that thing, even if there weren't a storm coming, and there is, you know. I'm not that blinded by a sense of duty, George.
So, what do you want me to do?
No. Give him this, I suppose.
Sounds good. Better than she did before.
Let's hope she keeps on running.
Oh, she will. Good for another 10,000. Listen, will you do me a favor?
Sure.
$20. Just give it to the sergeant in case anything happens.
What's this for?
Disturbing the peace.
Anyhow, you'll make it all right.
Sure. But nowhere to land up there, except a spot about the size of one of those bills. You gotta skid into it kind of sideways. You ready, son?
I just can't wait.
Okay. Let's go.
Doctor looked kind of scared, didn't he?
Wouldn't you be?
Hey, George.
Yeah?
Charlie just ran up the road a piece.
You mean he made it?
He sure did. Doctor says that survey fellow's gonna be okay, too. Come on, let's go talk to him.
Right.
All I needed was a spot about the size of a dollar bill to landing, you know. Only bad part was taking off again.
If the weather was still so bad up there, why didn't you stay there till tomorrow?
Would have, except that the doctor got to worrying about something.
About what?
About something he forgot to do before he left here. Take care of this, will you?
What is it?
Prescription for Mrs. O'Mara.
You came back here all the way just to...
Look, son, you hang around that doctor a while, you get to know the meaning of the word responsibility. Tell you another thing I learned, too. No more crazy stuff, like buzzing people. From now on, I'm flying strictly like an adult.
Well, I sure hope you mean that.
I do. I'll be seeing you.
Time to get back to work, old boy. It'll be a pleasure, won't it?
Yeah, I thought he was going south.
Probably just circling for altitude, I imagine.
Hey, George, you better look out.
He wouldn't dare!